My name is Damilola Oladipo. I am from Ijebu Ode in Ogun State, Nigeria. For 15 years, I served inside a coven where my primary assignment was to coordinate spirit marriages. I was the one who matched demons with human targets. I was the one who ensured that the spiritual husband or the spiritual wife assigned to a person stayed bonded to them, no matter what that person did to try to break free. I was responsible for more destroyed marriages, more broken engagements, more lonely nights, more unexplained divorces than I can count. But Jesus Christ set me free. And now I am here to expose every single thing I know about how spirit husbands operate, how they are assigned, how they destroy real marriages, and most importantly, how they can be permanently removed from your life. If you have ever woken up from a dream where someone was lying beside you, touching you, having relations with you, and when you opened your eyes no one was there, this message is for you. If you have been married for years but there is an invisible wall between you and your spouse, something you cannot explain, something that makes intimacy feel forced or uncomfortable or even repulsive, this message is for you. If every relationship you enter seems to follow the same pattern, everything is beautiful in the beginning, and then suddenly, without any real reason, it falls apart, this message is for you. If your spouse has ever told you that they saw someone standing by your bed in the middle of the night, someone who was not physically there, this message is especially for you. What I am about to share with you today comes from 15 years of direct involvement in assigning spirit husbands and spirit wives to people. I am not repeating something I heard from a pastor. I am not sharing a theory. I am telling you exactly what I did, exactly how it was done, and exactly what you need to do to be free. There are 4 critical things every believer needs to understand about spirit husbands. 4 things that the kingdom of darkness does not want you to know. 4 things that, when you understand them, will give you the power to break every spiritual marriage bond that has ever been placed on your life. Let me begin with the first one. The first thing you need to understand is how spirit husbands are assigned. Most people think that a spirit husband just randomly attaches itself to someone. That is not how it works. In the coven where I operated, every spirit marriage was a deliberate assignment. It was planned, it was coordinated, and it was targeted. When the coven identified a person who needed to be kept single, or whose marriage needed to be destroyed, or whose destiny in the area of relationships needed to be blocked, they would bring the case to me. I was the one who reviewed the spiritual profile of the target. I would look at their prayer life, their level of spiritual awareness, their vulnerabilities. And based on that profile, I would select the specific demon that would be assigned as their spirit husband or spirit wife. Let me tell you something that will shock you. These demons had preferences. Some of them preferred to operate through dreams only. They would come to the person at night in their sleep, and the person would wake up feeling like they had been physically intimate with someone. Other demons preferred to operate in the waking hours. They would create an atmosphere of rejection around the person so that every potential spouse would suddenly lose interest. And some demons, the most powerful ones, could actually manifest physically. They could make themselves visible for brief moments. They could create a presence in the room that even other people could sense. Let me tell you about a woman I will call Sister Bimpe from Abeokuta. She was a beautiful woman. She loved God. She attended church faithfully. She was kind and generous and everything a man could want in a wife, but she could not keep a relationship for more than 3 months. Every single man who showed interest in her would suddenly, without explanation, pull away. Some of them would tell her directly that they felt something was wrong, but they could not explain what it was. One man told her that every time he tried to think about marrying her, he would get a splitting headache that would not go away until he stopped thinking about it. What Sister Bimpi did not know was that she had been targeted by our coven when she was 17 years old. Her grandmother had made a covenant on her behalf with a water spirit. The grandmother had gone to a river shrine and dedicated Bimpi to a spirit husband in exchange for financial favor. The grandmother got her money, but Bimpi got a demon that would follow her for the next 14 years. I personally assigned the spirit to Bimpi. It was a territorial spirit connected to the waterways of Ogun State. And let me tell you how thorough the assignment was. The spirit was instructed to visit her in dreams at least 3 times a week. It was instructed to create conflict with any man who came close to marrying her. And it was instructed to make her feel satisfied in her singleness so that she would not fight too hard against her situation. There was a specific protocol we followed for spirit marriage assignments. First, the spirit would establish its presence through dreams. In the early stages, the dreams would be pleasant. The person would dream of a handsome man or a beautiful woman who was kind and loving. This was the bonding phase. The target would not recognize the danger because the dreams felt good. Some people even looked forward to sleeping because the dream companion was more attentive and more loving than any real person they had encountered. Then, once the bond was established, the spirit would begin the isolation phase. It would manipulate the emotions of the target so that real human companionship felt inadequate. A man might take Bimpe to a nice restaurant and she would feel bored. Someone might bring her flowers and she would feel nothing. The spirit husband had programmed her emotional system to only respond to its own presence. Real human love could not compete with the artificial emotional stimulation that the demon was providing. For 14 years, that woman lived alone. She prayed, she fasted, she went to deliverance services, but nothing changed because she was fighting the wrong battle. She was praying general prayers when she needed specific warfare against a specific assignment. She would go to church and say, "Lord, send me a husband." But she did not know that in the spiritual realm she already had one, a demon that was listening to her prayers and laughing. But then something happened. A visiting evangelist came to her church and preached specifically about spirit marriages. He did not just talk about them in general terms. He gave specific prayers. He named specific patterns. And that night, during the prayer session, Bimpy prayed with a fire I had never seen in any of our targets. She called out the spirit by its function. She renounced the covenant her grandmother had made. She broke the dedication at the river. She declared her body and her destiny as belonging to Jesus Christ alone. I remember being in the spirit realm that night and feeling the bond snap. It was like a chain breaking. The spirit that had been assigned to her for 14 years was violently ejected. It came back to the coven raging, and within 5 months, Bimpe met the man she would marry. They have been married now for 7 years with 3 children. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 14, "Do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers." But let me tell you, there is a deeper application of this verse. When a spirit husband is assigned to you, you are yoked to a demonic entity. You are in a covenant you did not choose, and until that yoke is broken, your real marriage will either never happen or never prosper. Here is what you need to do about this first point. You need to identify the entry point. Ask the Holy Spirit to reveal to you if any covenant was ever made on your behalf. Ask Him to show you if there was a dedication, a ritual, a visit to a shrine by anyone in your family line, because the assignment cannot be fully broken until the door through which it entered is identified and permanently closed. There was another case I remember. A young man named Brother Coyote from Ibadan. He was engaged to a wonderful Christian woman. Everything was going perfectly. The wedding date was set, the hall was booked, the invitations were printed, and then, exactly 2 weeks before the wedding, his fiancée woke up screaming in the middle of the night. She said she saw a woman standing at the foot of her bed, a woman dressed in white, a woman who looked at her and said, "He belongs to me." The fiancée was so terrified that she called off the wedding the next day. She told Coyote that she loved him, but she could not shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Coyote was devastated. He went to 3 different pastors. 2 of them told him to pray and fast. The third one, a woman of God who understood spiritual warfare, told him the truth. She said, "You have a spirit wife, and she will not let any woman marry you until she is removed." That spirit wife had been assigned to Coyote by our coven when he was just 12 years old. His mother, without knowing what she was doing, had taken him to a traditional healer for protection when he was a child. That healer had dedicated him to a female spirit, And from that day forward, every relationship Kayode entered was sabotaged from the spiritual realm. Do not just watch this video and move on, participate. If you have experienced anything I am describing, write in the comments right now. I break every spirit marriage in the name of Jesus. Write it, declare it. Let the enemy know that this is the moment everything changes for you. Your comment is not just words on a screen. It is a declaration in the spirit realm. And the kingdom of darkness pays attention when believers declare in agreement. Now let me move to the second thing you must understand. The second thing is the signs that reveal a spirit husband is operating in your life. In the coven, we knew that the most dangerous targets were the ones who knew they were under attack. The people we could control the longest were the ones who had no idea that a spirit husband was operating in their life. They thought their problems were natural. They thought their loneliness was just bad luck. They thought their marriage struggles were just normal difficulties. But they were not normal. They were engineered. There are specific signs, and I am going to give you the ones that we in the coven used to verify that our assignment was working. The first sign is consistent, intimate dreams. I am not talking about a random dream once a year. I am talking about dreams where you feel someone lying beside you, touching you, being intimate with you, and these dreams happen regularly. Sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, but they are consistent. And when you wake up, you feel drained, you feel tired, you feel like something was taken from you. The second sign is an unexplainable pattern of broken relationships. Not just one relationship ending, not just two, but a clear pattern where every single relationship reaches a certain point and then collapses. And the reasons are always different, but the result is always the same. You end up alone. The third sign is physical symptoms with no medical explanation, heaviness in the lower abdomen, cramps that doctors cannot find a cause for, reproductive issues that have no medical basis. I assigned spirits that were specifically instructed to attack the reproductive system because the coven wanted to ensure that the person would not have children with a physical spouse. The fourth sign is a deep, unexplainable resistance to intimacy with your real spouse. If you are married, but you find that being close to your husband or wife feels wrong, feels uncomfortable, feels like a violation, even though you love them, that is a sign. The spirit husband creates a sense of belonging with itself and a sense of foreignness with your real spouse. Let me tell you about a couple I will call Pastor and Sister Dayo from Lagos. They had been married for 8 years. From the outside, they looked like the perfect Christian couple. He was an associate pastor. She led the women's ministry. They smiled in church. They held hands during service, but at home, they lived like strangers. Sister Dayo could not explain it. She loved her husband. She wanted to be close to him, but every time he reached for her, something inside her recoiled. It was not fear. It was not trauma from abuse. It was something she could not identify. She described it to me later, after her deliverance, as feeling like she was cheating on someone when she was with her own husband. And that is exactly what the spirit husband wanted her to feel. Because in the spiritual realm, she was married to that demon first. The covenant had been made before her physical marriage, and the demon considered her its wife. So when her real husband touched her, the demon created a response of resistance, of guilt, of wrongness. Pastor Dayo started to think she was having an affair. The distance between them grew. Arguments became daily. They went to marriage counseling. They went to couples retreats. Nothing worked because the problem was not between them. The problem was between Sister Dayo and a demon that had been assigned to her since she was 19 years old. One night, Pastor Dayo woke up at 2:13 in the morning. He did not know why he was awake. The room was dark, and then he saw something that changed everything. There was a figure standing by his wife's side of the bed, a dark, tall figure, not human, not fully formed, but unmistakably there. He could see it. He could feel it. The temperature in the room had dropped. There was a weight in the atmosphere, like the air itself had become thick and heavy. He wanted to scream, but his voice would not come out. He wanted to move, but his body was frozen for what felt like 30 seconds. And then, in an instant, the figure turned its head toward him. He said he felt its gaze, not saw its eyes, felt them, and then it vanished. He did not sleep the rest of that night. He sat in their living room until the sun came up, trembling, trying to understand what he had witnessed. He was a pastor. He preached about the spiritual realm. But seeing it with his own physical eyes was something entirely different. The next morning, he told his wife what he had seen, and instead of being afraid, she broke down crying. She said, "I have been seeing him in my dreams for years. I thought I was going crazy. I thought something was wrong with me. I never told you because I was ashamed." She told him that the figure would come at least twice a week, that it would speak to her, that it would tell her that Pastor Dio was not her real husband, that it had been with her since before the marriage, and it would be with her long after the marriage ended. She had been carrying this secret for 8 years of their marriage, afraid that if she told anyone, they would think she had lost her mind. That was the turning point. Pastor Dio did not go to another counselor. He did not book another marriage retreat. He went to war. He understood now that his enemy was not his wife's coldness. His enemy was not distance or incompatibility. His enemy was a demon that had been sleeping in his bed for 8 years. He called a 3-day fast for their household. He anointed every doorpost. He prayed specifically against the spirit husband by function and assignment. He declared that his marriage was a covenant before God, and no demon had any legal right to be in it. On the 3rd night of that fast, Sister Dio had a dream, but this time it was different. In the dream, she saw the figure that had been visiting her. But instead of coming close, it was being pushed back. There was a wall of fire between her and the spirit. And she heard a voice say, "You are free." When she woke up, the heaviness she had carried for over a decade was gone. Completely gone. She reached for her husband, and for the first time in 8 years there was no resistance, no guilt, no invisible wall. That is why I want to tell you about something called the 21-day Breakthrough Protocol. It is a complete system designed to identify and close every spiritual door in your life. It is 21 days of targeted prayers, 21 days of strategic declarations, 21 days of systematic deliverance from the 7 main assignments that were most commonly used against Christians when I was operating in darkness. This protocol was developed by believers who understand spiritual warfare at the deepest level, and I myself went through this protocol after my deliverance. It was part of my own healing process, learning how to recognize and close every door I had ever opened, both personally and on behalf of others. The link is in the description. Do not wait. The enemy is not waiting. Why should you? If this is resonating with your spirit, if you are recognizing these patterns in your own life, type the word freedom in the comments right now. Let us build a wall of declaration together. Now let me share the 3rd thing you must understand. The 3rd thing is how spirit husbands actively destroy real marriages from the inside. This is something that many deliverance ministers do not teach. They talk about the symptoms, they talk about the dreams, but they do not explain the mechanics of how a spirit husband systematically dismantles a marriage. I am going to explain it to you because I was the one coordinating these assignments. When a person who has a spirit husband gets married in the physical, the demon does not leave. Let me say that again. The demon does not leave just because you got married. In fact, in many cases, the demon becomes more aggressive after the wedding because now it has a rival. Now there is a physical person occupying the position that the demon considers its own. The first tactic the spirit husband uses is to create conflict during intimacy. The demon will manipulate the emotions of the person it is assigned to so that every intimate moment with the real spouse becomes a source of tension. The person might suddenly feel angry for no reason. They might feel disgusted, they might feel overwhelming sadness, and the real spouse, not understanding what is happening, begins to feel rejected. The second tactic is financial sabotage. I know this surprises people, but spirit husbands are connected to financial blockage. In the coven, we understood that a stable marriage needs stable finances. So part of the assignment was to ensure that money would always be a source of stress in the household. The spirit husband would work to block promotions, collapse business deals, and create unexpected expenses that kept the couple in perpetual financial pressure. Because a couple that is always fighting about money is a couple that is too distracted to fight in the spirit. The third tactic is dream infiltration of the spouse. This is something most people do not know, and most deliverance ministers do not teach. The spirit husband does not only visit the person it is assigned to, it also visits the spouse. It will give the husband or the wife dreams about other people, dreams of infidelity, dreams that plant seeds of suspicion and jealousy, dreams designed to create division. Let me explain how this works from the inside. When I coordinated a spirit marriage assignment against a married couple, I did not only send the spirit to the target, I sent it to operate in the bedroom of both people. The spirit husband would visit the wife in her dreams as her spiritual companion, but then it would shift and visit the husband in his dreams as well, but in a completely different form. It would give the husband a dream about his wife being unfaithful. Sometimes the dream was explicit, sometimes it was suggestive. Sometimes the husband would just dream that his wife was talking to another man in a way that was too friendly, too intimate. I coordinated assignments where the spirit husband would give the real husband a dream about his wife with another man, and here is the diabolical part. The spirit would make the dream so vivid, so detailed, so emotionally charged that when the husband woke up, he could not shake it. He would look at his wife and feel genuine anger and betrayal, even though nothing had actually happened. The feeling was as real as if he had walked in and caught her himself. The husband would start checking her phone. He would start questioning where she went and who she talked to. He would start interpreting innocent behavior as evidence of an affair. A smile at a coworker became flirting. A late return from the market became a secret meeting. A new hairstyle became an attempt to impress another man, and the wife, who had done absolutely nothing wrong, would feel accused and attacked and confused. She would defend herself. He would not believe her. And the marriage would begin to crack from the inside. This is what the coven wanted, not a dramatic explosion, a slow, steady erosion, a gradual poisoning of trust, until the couple could not stand to be in the same room together. And neither of them knew that the entire thing was being orchestrated by a demon that lived in their bedroom. Let me tell you about a case that still haunts me. There was a family in Benin City. The man was a contractor. His wife was a school teacher. They had been married for 12 years, 3 beautiful children. They loved God. They attended church. They participated in every prayer meeting. They were the couple that other couples envied. But the wife had been dedicated to a water spirit by her aunt when she was 14 years old. The aunt had taken her to a river ceremony in the village during a school holiday. The girl did not even fully understand what was happening. She thought it was a cultural tradition, but a covenant was made that day. And from that day, a spirit husband was assigned to her. For the first 3 years of her marriage, everything was manageable. The spirit husband was patient. It visited her in dreams occasionally, but did not create major disruption. It was waiting. It was studying the marriage. It was looking for the right moment to strike. That moment came when the husband's business started to prosper. He got a government contract worth millions of naira. The family was about to move into financial stability, and that is when the attacks intensified, because the coven had been instructed that this family must not prosper. The spirit husband had a dual assignment: keep the wife bonded and keep the family poor. When the money started flowing, the spirit escalated its operations. Suddenly the wife started having dreams every night, not just the usual visits. These were violent, disturbing dreams where the spirit husband would appear and tell her that her real husband was going to leave her, that he was seeing someone else, that the money would change him, that he would replace her with a younger woman. The spirit would show her images in the dream, fabricated scenes of her husband with other women, scenes that felt so real that when she woke up, she could not distinguish them from reality. She would look at her husband getting ready for work and genuinely believe that he had been unfaithful the night before, even though the entire thing had been engineered in her dreams by the demon. She started to question everything her husband did. Why was he coming home late? Who was he calling? Why was he smiling at his phone? Why did he buy a new shirt? Who was he trying to impress? The husband was confused and then frustrated and then angry. Nothing had changed in his behavior, but his wife was becoming a different person. The warm, trusting woman he married had been replaced by someone suspicious, accusatory, and unreachable. The arguments became explosive. She accused him of things he had never done. He accused her of losing her mind. Their children would hide in their rooms when the shouting started. One night, during a terrible argument, the husband said something he immediately regretted. He said, "Sometimes I feel like there is someone else in this marriage besides the two of us." He meant it as an accusation. But he had spoken a spiritual truth without knowing it. There was someone else. A demon that had been in that marriage from the very first day. The marriage nearly collapsed. They separated for 3 months. The children were devastated. But God intervened. A prayer warrior, an elderly woman from their church who had the gift of discernment, visited the wife during the separation. She looked at her and said, "There is a spirit husband on you. I can see it. It has been there since you were a teenager, and it is the one destroying your home." That elderly woman led the wife through 3 days of targeted deliverance. She did not pray general prayers. She prayed against the specific covenant made at the river. She prayed against the specific spirit that had been assigned. She prayed for the severance of every soul tie between the wife and the demonic entity. On the 3rd day, the wife vomited, physically vomited. And she said that as she did, she felt something leave her body, something that had been there so long she had forgotten what it felt like to be without it. The next week, she called her husband. The next month, they reconciled. And the husband later said that his wife was like a completely different person. The suspicion was gone. The anxiety was gone. The wall was gone. If you are married and you recognize these patterns in your home, share this video with your spouse right now. Do not wait until the end. Pick up your phone, copy the link, and send it to them. Because this information could save your marriage today. The enemy has been operating in secret. It is time to bring everything into the light. Now the 4th thing, and this is the most important one, the 4th thing is how to permanently